We're coming to you live for the Bill Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And whoever you are in the free Odyssey app, good Tuesday morning. Boomer's got a couple of days off after a crazy Super Bowl week and post-Super Bowl extravaganza. No, not lazy.
He's lazy.
Not lazy at all. Well-earned days off. Actually, I think he's doing some sort of work in these days off as well. He's not just even enjoying himself. There's some sort of work involved in this. That means Jerry is here, and he is back with us after a Rutgers experience that got him in at 3:30 in the morning on Monday. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
What is up, G? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Did you get some sleep after that Rutgers trip?
I did, yes. Got in late, got some sleep yesterday, woke up, the show was over. We always talk about that, how we take for granted how early we get up.
Yeah.
And so, granted, I got in very late on, Sunday night? And so, laid down, wake up, and it's 10:15 when I wake up. It's like, wow, the show's over already.
Show's over?
Like, Greg's on his way home.
That's right.
And you're just starting the day. Yeah, pretty wild. But a very quick trip, and here we are.
Yeah, I blew out of here yesterday. Holiday, nobody around.
Yep.
Didn't even, there was no salespeople back there. There was nobody here.
Yep.
And it was the fastest drive home I've ever had. An hour and 8 minutes.
Amazing
home.
what it can be, isn't it?
An hour. I said, if I had a drive like that every day, the quality of life for me would be exponentially better.
Yeah, I know.
But we don't have that.
We deal with it every day.
We
you
don't
more than,
have
you more than me, but yes.
Yes, absolutely. So the Nets end up firing Jacques Vaughn. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that because they're lost and the team stinks. But this is just another example of turnover in this city with unstable franchises and coaches. And I remember there was a graphic, and they probably have it, CBS Sports Network, of all the coaches that we have seen, managers and coaches in this town over the last, let's go back to when this show started in 2018. I mean, my God, the amount of people that we have seen.
We just got to mention Giants, my Lord.
Yeah, right, just with them. So then I started thinking, all right, Jacques Vaughn's now gone. He's the next guy. Is there anybody in New York sports as we sit here today that's got any sort of job security? And I can make a case that if you go through every single one of them, the answer is no.
No, there's not. Because if you look at the Giants, nope. You look at the Jets, no. The Mets, job security, he just got hired. I don't think you'd fire him after 1 year, but that's about it.
But we don't know who he is. He could be a total mess, Carlos Mendoza.
Yes, if they go 62 and 100, maybe he does get fired. It's certainly possible.
Right. Yeah.
Aaron Boone has had it, but clearly not anymore. People have had enough of him, and if they don't win this year, you can make every case with the Juan Soto move that they could move on from him. Or I don't know. And you look at the hockky teams.
They fire hockey coaches no matter what.
All the time.
Right.
So to answer your question, no.
There's not a single. Now, I know Peter Laviolette just got here, and he's got the team playing very, very well. But, we just saw Gerard Gallant here for 2 years.
Just going to say, yes.
Get the conference final and then out of here.
Even Vigneault was good.
Yeah, right. He got to a cup final, right?
It's funny looking at that list. The first name that popped off the screen to me, and I completely forgot he was here, was Steve Nash.
Yeah, I know. Oh, my gosh. Steve Nash was here during the...
Jeff Hornacek was the Knicks coach.
I know, and then Joakim Noah pushed him down to the ground. Remember that whole thing?
It is that is a scary list when you think about it.
All right, so we're with this.
Wow.
Keep this up for a second, CBS Sports Network. Who was, out of all these guys that are on that list since 2017, who was the most embarrassing for their franchise? I've got one.
So, all right, I think the easy answer is Mickey Callaway.
Okay.
Because of the way the press conference went, because of the way it ended, because of what happened in his personal life, I think Mickey Callaway is the easy answer. If I went beyond that, embarrassing in terms of just not being good or the way he carried himself?
Both. All of it. All encompassing.
That's a great question. I'm going to take the hockey teams off the table for the moment. Am I really going to go Ben McAdoo? He had a really good year, though, with them. But it ended weird, and he had the stupid suit thing. Adam Gase with the crazy eyes. And
Adam Gase is the one. So Adam Gase. Yeah. So I wouldn't. Three. I've got three.
You got three.
And then one's a sneaky one.
Okay.
So Callaway and Gase, and then my sneaky one is David Fizdale. Because David Fizdale came here with a lot of hype and positivity because he had coached Memphis and he had done very well there. He comes here, and the team, I mean, they were so bad. They quit on him. They basically said that the practices weren't being even run. They had no strategy in the game. I mean, it was so bad.
You would know that more than me, yeah.
So that was a sneaky one. But I think the answer is probably Adam Gase. I mean, it has to be.
More so than Mickey Callaway?
Yeah, and I understand that Mickey Callaway had his tricky Mickey stuff and the texting and the weirdo thing that happened afterwards, but. Yeah, I need to. Yes, I think so because I feel like the Jets were a bigger disaster with Adam Gase than the Mets were with Mickey Callaway.
Fair enough. That opening press conference set the tone for Mickey
Callaway. What about
Adam
Gase's opening press conference?
That was the crazy eyes, but that's because visually he looked like a lunatic.
Yeah,
the Mickey Callaway stuff. I mean, that audio will go down forever as some of the craziest stuff you'll ever hear. I remember Boomer wanting to vomit.
Yep.
When we were playing it for him.
Well, I mean, I know, and he still asks for it to this day.
Right.
That we're going to love the players more than the players ever been loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like, what was his?
They're 1-1A.
I know they were bad under Mickey Callaway, but how bad? So his managerial record, let's just take a look and go. See, actually, he won more games than he lost. I mean, which is nuts. So they were, in 2019, they were 10 games over 500. I mean, so he was 77 and 85 and 18, and then 86 and 76 in 19, where Adam Gase was way worse.
What'd they win with Gase?
God, I mean, they
won a lot.
Well, remember that one year? I think they won 2 games that last year because that was the one where they went out and beat the Rams, and that Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson thing happened.
Right.
So I think that they were really, really. So that first year, I want to say. That first year they win 7 maybe, and then that second one was really, really horrendous. All right, so we'll take a look just quickly with Adam Gase. So, yeah, he was – all right, so 7-9 his first year with the Jets in 19, and then 2-14 in 20, and he was gone.
Right.
And he was just such a strange guy. Like Mickey Callaway was strange in a goofy way, but
the country bumpkin.
Yeah, and his first press conference was terrible. But then there's a moth in here. How does a moth get in here? Anyway, so but after that, you felt like he was just like, oh, okay, man, we just go in the bullpen and I'm going to get these guys and dry hump them, and he would just be like, okay, fine. Adam Gase was we pulled the hat down. He was strange, didn't answer any questions.
Yeah.
Bizarre guy.
Yeah.
And he was also hired by Christopher Johnson. And Christopher Johnson, of course, came in when Woody was overseas.
Well, with a big endorsement from who? Peyton Manning.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean.
Last time I listened to him.
You can't. We could sit here and go back and forth on those two. I don't think there's a winner in that. They're both horrible, but those guys are at the very top. And I throw my sleeper is David Fizdale in there, but Mickey Callaway and Adam Gase have been the worst. Now, Jacques Vaughn, who's the latest casualty, is and David Fizdale. If Al grew that beard, he would look just like David Fizdale.
We've said this before.
It's unbelievable.
Yes,
but anyway,
he has to lose some weight too.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yes, but the head shape and the glasses and everything. But Jacques Vaughn, the latest casualty.
I'm looking at the two of them right now.
I know it's incredible, and that's not even a good one. Like if you get one that's true. Straight on, it's really remarkable. But we're not going to really remember or anything about Jacques Vaughn that's going to be everlasting like Adam Gase or Mickey Callaway. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had 2 new football coaches here next year.
I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised if we had a new Yankee manager. Now, I understand that those guys and Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone are sort of tied at the hip, but if they have a disappointing year this year.
So disappointing, and we always talk about
the playoffs.
This. Or miss the playoffs.
Yeah, miss the playoffs.
I thought you were going to say if they don't win the World Series.
No.
That's the one thing about this whole Yankee run that has been disappointing that they haven't won, and I understand that, but they've also won a hell of a lot of games every year. And so then you come back to, let's say the Yankees are what they've been, and they're a playoff team again this year that doesn't win the World Series. Are you making a move, or are you staying with stability because they win a lot?
No, I mean, I think that it sort of depends how it goes, because I always bring up the getting swept by the Astros after barely getting past the Guardians and them overrating themselves. But if they're right there and lose in a really heartbreaking Game 7 of an ALCS, then how mad can you get?
Well, they did it once to Joe Girardi.
Yeah, right. That's true, but that was more of a Brian. You're absolutely right, but that's more of a Brian Cashman. I've had enough. This guy is grinding me more than I would like. I want some guy who's going to listen to me more. That's really what that was. They were butting heads too much.
Which is really personal. And if you think about it, you kind of bit your nose to spite your face if you think about it.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that Joe Girardi would have won a World Series had he stayed. But, I mean, you were literally a run away from and a game away from winning again, being in the World Series again. And they moved on. And it hasn't been as good since. Hasn't been bad by any stretch, but it hasn't been as good.
No, it has not. This is another, a disappointing year like this past one. I understand they finished over 500, but that was a year you felt like they were dead in July, and the Aaron Judge injury and missing the playoffs and all of that. Quickly, side by side here, David Fisdale, Al Dukes on CBS Sports Network. Yeah, I mean it's strikingly remarkable.
You look like he could be a sibling.
Yeah, without a doubt.
100% he could be a sibling.
Like, I think the nose and the head shape, very much so.
Man, if you grew that beard out just a little bit.
Right.
The hair on top, just a little bit. That's tremendous.
I know that everybody says that every bald guy looks the same, but that's not true.
Not like this.
That's not true.
If I put a side-by-side with him and Sal Licata, they don't look the same.
No, they do not. No, absolutely not. So there you go. There's another one of these unbelievably sad runs in New York sports with a coach. I mean, it's just that list, more than any other graphic that CBS Sports Network could put up, that list tells more of Here's another good one. There's another good side-by-side between the two. Oh, that's great.
That's tremendous.
Anyway, but more than any other graphic, that shows you the ineptitude of what we've had to deal with around here. And I mentioned, like, the guy who's probably got the best chance of longevity is Tom Thibodeau. He's probably got the best chance. But even him, I could make a case that if these guys don't get healthy or they have a disappointing ouster if they lose in the first round of the postseason, I wouldn't be shocked. And they go and trade for a superstar in the offseason, that he would be gone. Like, I could make a case for that, too.
And then they get the superstar's guy in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
At some point, there's got to be something said for stability, consistency. I'm not even saying longevity, but you can't just keep running through guys.
But which one of these guys, and I understand hockey is different. Like, so you can look and say that Vigneault, Gallant,
right,
Trotz, those guys probably shouldn't have been fired when they were, but the nature of the hockey coach is just that the second that you feel like there's something stale, they're gone. Right. That just happens with every organization in that sport. But is there a guy, and we'll find out, maybe Buck Showalter is that guy, but is there a guy in that list where you're like, man, they really moved on?
So that's the one that I looked to, and I believe that they should have gone into the final year of his contract and let him manage. You won 101 games the first year. Last year was a disaster for a variety of reasons. What's the real deal? I would have given him this year to see, especially if it was this type of, I don't want to say, I guess it's a reset year. They still do have a core on this team. You know, when you look at this team compared to the last couple of years, how different really are they? Now, I know you can sit there and yell at me with the pitching. That's a big deal. I'm not throwing that away. But when you look at the lineup, how different really is the lineup? I mean, you still have the core essentially intact. I can make the case looking back to the Scherzer-Verlander disaster. They might be better at pitching this year than they were last year because those guys were so incredibly disappointing. But that's the one guy that I would look and say, you had a guy who we know can win. Last year, was that an aberration or was that really what it is? Especially in a season where you want to see what these younger players have. I would have kept him, but other than him on that list, I don't know that there's another person I would say that about.
You know, I was really disappointed that he couldn't keep things together and keep those guys focused, especially in the beginning part of the season. But what it felt like to me is they had that great year and everything was phenomenal, and then it ended so quickly and so disappointing, and it was like, man, we got to start this whole process all over again just to get to that point. Then you threw the World Baseball Classic in there where you had a lot of guys that weren't there in spring training, and I remember Buck having all those weird, folksy press conferences where he's telling stories around a campfire. It just didn't seem the same as it did the year before. Then you get the Diaz injury, and the whole thing just started off to this very negative start, and he never got it back.
And keep in mind, too, and this goes back to a couple of weeks ago when he did that podcast, you could tell he was bothered by that whole, you see where the disconnect was with the whole analytic thing and the way he wants to manage games. So I understand. I watched that, and I'm like, yeah, he needed to get out because the game's not passing him by, but the way the game is run now is passing him by. So I do understand it. But in terms of the list, that's the guy that I would point out.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, maybe Carlos Mendoza ends up being the guy that brings a championship back to the New York Mets, and we'll forever love him. But I mean, But
let me ask you this, and this goes to a different conversation, I suppose. Like, how much control do these guys now even have? And I know this has been building for years and years and years, but, these managers and coaches make so much less than the star, not even just the star players, like the good players. What control do they even really have over them anymore? Well, nothing.
Yeah, there's only a few out there. That's why we've been saying this about baseball managers forever. There's only a few. Basically, what the manager is a guy that's got to work well with the GM that probably has better job security than he does. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
But even like a guy, all right, this would be the example to me. Eric Spoelstra in Miami is now, I think, the highest paid coach.
Yeah.
I think it's $15 a year, which pales in comparison to what the top NBA player. Jimmy Butler probably makes $40 a year. So he makes 2.5 times what his coach makes, actually probably even more than that. But at least in Miami, that Spoelstra has a terrific contract, and he is backed by Pat Riley. So if you're going to walk around there and you're going to question him, you might be the one that gets shipped out, not the coach. Everywhere else, it's not like that. You don't play well, you can tell the coach to go bleep himself, and guess who's going to be gone? The coach. No control, no power.
Yeah, you're right. There's a few. There's a few right away that command the respect just by their name and their reputation. But outside of that, I mean, you got a long way to go to earn respect. And I also think it helps when a coach and a quarterback in the NFL come in together and you're basically tied to each other's success. But if you're someone who, like, for example, Matt LaFleur coming in with Aaron Rodgers there and that thing working, even though they ended up splitting. But that was, I can't even imagine how hard that had to be for Matt LaFleur, who was, I think, might have even been younger than Aaron Rodgers or right around the same age.
Yeah, I think 2 years younger.
Yeah, to come in and then have that success that they had together, and there was a couple MVPs that Aaron Rodgers won. I mean, that's a very, very tough thing to do. So you're right. And in baseball, I mean, it's kind of keeping guys focused, keeping them together, making the right decisions when it comes to the bullpen. And outside of that, just don't screw it up.
Right. I think it's the clubhouse. You got to have a good clubhouse. You have a good clubhouse, and the guys want to play with one another. You might get good results.
Yep. So who's next? Who's the next guy to get fired?
That's a great question. Kevin Ollie.
Well, yeah. Does it even count?
No, he doesn't. Not as an interim head coach.
That doesn't count. I'm going to say...
If you say Tibbs, that would be very disappointing.
No. I'm going to say Aaron Boone.
So you're expecting not a great season from this team.
I don't want to say that. I'm just saying that
but if he gets fired.
I know, but I'm kind of playing both sides here, which I shouldn't do. My point is that he would be the next one if they have a bad season.
True.
And that would be before the football season starts and everything else.
Let me ask you this. Yankees at the end of their season.
Yeah.
Borderline playoff team. Jets get out to an 0-3 start. Rob Saleh could go before Aaron Boone. He could.
That's fair.
0-3 in September. Aaron Rodgers out there. They're not playing great. Enough of this.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That is true. But then who you going to elevate Nate Hackett to
I
head
have no
coach?
idea. Listen, don't ask hard questions. I don't know. I'm just giving you a scenario where it could be the football coach before the baseball manager.
Yeah, that would be a lot of disaster.
Well, we're used to it.
We are used to it. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Jerry in for Boomer this morning. We got CeeLo with us coming in just a couple of minutes.